Hi guys, I hope you guys are having a really good week so far. I know we're like halfway through it, so hopefully it's a breeze for the rest of you guys. Today, this evening, I'm actually going to talk about reconciliation and how it is appropriate for some situations and others. It's just not the best fit for that current situation. Um, to reconcile, in my eyes, I believe it starts with forgiveness. And I'm just going to get straight to the point and open up with the verse from the New Living Translation. It's actually Matthew 18, and that's verses 21 through 22. And it says, Then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No, not 7 times, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. Now, when we think about, some people think 7 times by itself is a lot to forgive someone. But to forgive someone 70 times 7, I'm not a mathematician. I'm not even going to do the math. But I just know that that is a lot of times to be forgiving someone. And when we think about it, it's like, okay, well, one should be enough. After that, they shouldn't, hurt us again. But it happens, and we're humans. Just think about how many times you have sinned or done something wrong to someone, and you want to be forgiven. The Lord forgives us that many times, so why can't we forgive someone else? But in order to reconcile, you have to start with forgiveness. In certain situations, that is the case, and it be successful. And in others, it's just some people, they can't let go. And if you watch my video when I talk about my marriage and how I answered those questions that I asked the wives, I say how people say, I forgive, but I don't forget. And then that whole I don't forget, it turns into really unforgiveness, because if you forgive someone, you don't have to keep repeating that, you don't forget it. We understand that, and people understand that you won't forget it. The scars will be there, but in order to move forward, you kind of have to just put that on the back burner if you want to be successful and you want to mend things the right way. Short story. I remember when my ex-husband and I, we were at the beginning of our split, and this is before I moved out. This was right before the 4th of July of 2015, and that was actually the first holiday that we did not spend together. He had planned a trip with his friend to go to Atlanta to his friend's family house, and he didn't tell me, and I had told him months and months ahead of time that my family reunion was coming up. And during that time when the reunion was planned, we were, okay in our marriage. And he didn't tell me to the last minute. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to show up there married without a husband. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was livid because I had ended up getting my baby sister, and she was the little baby at that time. She was staying at my house, and my cousin, he was coming in from Akron to stay at my house. So it was pretty cool that he was coming, but I was like, I want my husband to be there. And I ended up getting my baby sister the day before my cousin had came in. Babies are a lot, a lot to deal with, especially if you're used to dogs, like a person like me. I know some people that have dogs, they hate those walks, but once you spend time with the baby, you cannot wait to just go and walk your dog. You don't have to carry a baby, but just walk your dog. And I was sitting in there in that house, and mind you, I had still had to walk the two dogs and look Ava with me. And at that time, I didn't realize, like, the Holy Spirit was revealing to me, if we had had children at that time, regardless, he still would have left, and I would have been at home with our child, going to a family reunion by myself, doing all this by myself. And I didn't understand that. But to fast forward, when he had came back home, he stated that he had went to church, and the pastor pretty much preached about, if you walk past a penny and you got a pocket full of money, you're gonna walk past, say, whatever, that's useless to me. But if you don't have a pocket full of money and you walk past that penny, that it's a lot of worth to you. And he pretty much, when he was explaining it to me, he pretty much was like, well, you're the penny, so how about we work this out? And in my mind, I was like, did he just really compare me to a penny? Is he serious? Oh, no. And as much as I wanted to fix my marriage, I couldn't settle for just being compared to a penny. And reconciliation just wasn't something that was good in that situation at that moment, because it was like, you have to really want to reconcile in your heart. It has to be from the heart. You have to think about those things mentally and prepare yourself and prepare your heart for that in order to go forth and tell, go to someone and bring up the option of reconciliation. And the way he went about it, it was like, okay, I really don't think that you understand what is going on. I can't do this because you went to church and the pastor talked about a penny. I'm your wife. I should be worth more than a penny. And I was like, I just can't. As much as I wanted to, it was just like, it wasn't genuine. It was, I don't even have the words to explain it. And it's almost 2 years later, and I don't even know how to explain it. But there's been many times where my ex-husband has brought up the idea of reconciling, but every time he did, it was never genuine. It was either the penny situation, or it was either he's still with that girl and he's lying about her and I have to find out about it. So it's kind of like you miss the idea of it. And that's what moves on into the next thing that I want to discuss is the idea of everything. It sounds wonderful. The idea of you being with someone or being back with someone, or what that person is capable of or what they bring to the table. The idea of it, it sounds wonderful. So during those other times when he wanted to reconcile, it was the idea of Tashiana and him, the idea, but people never sometimes don't want to put in that full effort. And it's unfortunate because it's just like, okay, well, I'm just the idea. You're not really ready for the reality of what we can possibly be. But that takes work. Ideas doesn't take work. It's just a thought. But when you have to set those ideas into motion, you have to put them into reality. It takes work. And people don't want to put in the work. And not only marriages alone are a lot of work, but relationships, to keep them strong so that you can move forth into marriage, that's a lot of work too. So it's just kind of like, even if you're going through a situation and reconciliation is on the table, like I discussed last week, you have to guard your heart. And in some of those instances when he wanted to reconcile, I didn't guard my heart. And that was on my end because I was still vulnerable. And I was just like, oh, maybe we just needed that little time apart, and then we can get back together. But that wasn't the case. It just wasn't right. His heart wasn't pure, and mine was, because that's something that I still wanted to save my marriage. But it was just not something that was meant for us to do at that time, at any point in time where it was brought to the table, because it has to be genuine. And in all those other instances, the Holy Spirit was just showing me and teaching me to guard my heart. Even though some instances I wasn't. Like I stated before, if the Lord has to hurt your feelings to get you to understand something, He will do so. And it's not to just tear you down, but it's to show you that He loves you, that no other person love is greater than His. So if He's hurting your feelings, it's for a reason. And I've had my feelings hurt plenty of times because I didn't want to learn my lesson, or I ignored the signs. But in regards to this whole issue, it's about you being pure in the heart. Reconciliation is a big thing. It's a really big issue because it takes a lot of forgiveness. And not only you forgive that person, but you have to forgive yourself, because you may have invested so much energy into being so upset with that person that it's like, when you've done something wrong, did the Lord spend so much time being so upset with you? No, He forgave you, and that was that, and you repented, and we move forward. But as humans, as our flesh, we don't work like that. Our flesh doesn't work like that. We want to be mad. We want to be petty. Oh no, you want to hurt my feelings? Okay, I got something for you. Just wait. You want to post something and do them indirect posts and all the other stuff? That's not even necessary. Your flesh is wasting too much energy into being upset. So it's just kind of like, do you really want to reconcile with this person? You have to take the first step and just start forgiving. And I know that's hard. Trust me. It took me a while to forgive, the situation as a whole, but reconciliation isn't something that's on the table for us right now. And who knows what the future holds, but I can't speak on that at this moment. What I can speak on is the topic of being pure in the heart. You have to bring forth what you really want, and you have to come to an understanding. And even if that means getting counsel from pastors, because I've done that before, though it was a serious situation where I thought he was serious and he made it seem like he was serious, and I was like, okay, well, my discernment and something is going on, is telling me something, but I just had to reassured that it was okay. So I went to my pastor and I was like, he said he wanted to reconcile and all this other stuff. And, pastor was like, reconciliation is good, and if he's serious, I will counsel you guys and help you guys. And I was like, okay, so if pastor say it's okay, I guess I can let up. But my discernment, you know, it still was just a little shaky. And if you have discernment, if you have that good instinct, then you go with that. Don't involve your feelings, because that's another thing. Emotions and feelings can block that discernment, and that discernment is the Holy Spirit telling you something. Those emotions and those feelings, that's the enemy. It's bringing you into, okay, well, I'll do this, and then once that happens, your heart isn't guarded, and when it's not guarded, your feelings get hurt, and then at that point, there are wounds that's being opened that you have to start all over just to close those wounds, just to heal from that situation. So if you're not really sure, or even if you are sure, just pray on it. You get counsel from your pastors, just to reassurance that this is the right thing for you, because you have to really think about everything that may have happened in that situation. And it's not just relationships, friendships too. Friendships, they're a lot of work, and things may have happened in the past. You have to think about, is this situation worth me investing my energy into again? Because you might have grown from that situation, that relationship, or that friendship, or that marriage, and you might be in a good place to where you're like, okay, well, do I really want to go back to that? Do I really, want to invest my energy? I've come so far. And if you feel content where you're at, it's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, it's not an option for me. I wish you the best. You can pray for them. You can always pray for them. I still pray for my ex-husband. I still pray for those that I'm not friends with anymore. You have to pray for them, because you don't know how that can help them in the long run. That goes along with forgiving someone. You forgive them enough to pray for them, because that flesh, like I said, the flesh, what I'm gonna pray for them for? Why would I do that? Because I remember when I found out the truth about, him lying about the girl he was still with, and I called my pastors and I was like, he's a liar, and I told him everything, and he was like, in situations like this, when someone trespasses you, you have to start feeling sorry for them. And in my head, I was like, feel sorry for who? I'm not about to feel sorry for him. No, he don't deserve that for me to feel sorry for him. But as he went on and he explained that you have to look at those situations from a godly point of view, you have to be above that. That's when your spirit man kicks in, because the flesh, we're only going to want to just stoop down to that person level and be petty, take the low road when we're supposed to take the high road. You forgive and move forth. And he was like, you have to pray for them, pray for him. And I was like, pray for him? I'm not about to pray for him. He don't deserve no blessings. No. What is wrong with you, Pastor? No. But we have to be Christ-like. Once again, the Lord forgives us all the time. So why is it that we can't forgive others, even though it's hard? 70 times 7, that's a lot of times. I know it's a bunch of times. I can't do the math right now, but I know it's a bunch of times. But some people don't realize that reconciliation is just as hard. It's a lot of energy, because you have to learn to move forth from those things that has already happened between the two of you. People fail to realize that you're not gonna go back to where you left off at. Where you left off at is how you ended up in the position of being apart. So when it comes to reconciliation, it's an opportunity to start fresh, to have an open mind, but at the same time, keep your heart guarded. You have to keep your heart guarded, because during that process, sometimes emotions, they just run wild, and you have to learn to not react off of emotion. That's what get us in trouble a lot of times, is reacting off of our emotions and our feelings. And we have to have a clear mindset. You can use your heart, but take your mind with you. And that's very important when it comes to reconciling a friendship or a relationship or even a marriage. you have to be smart about it, and you have to be careful about it. And like I said, Matthew 18 is so important. And the reason I stuck to that verse is because a lot of it has to do with forgiveness. We hold on to so much, and our flesh, it holds on to so much that, you know, that person is gone off living their life. It's us. We're, that's still dealing with that, and that comes to play. Like I said earlier, you have to forgive yourself because you invested so much time, and it's like, okay, well, let's think again. The Lord forgives us instantly. We repent and we move forward, even though it takes us a little bit longer, and so at times it shouldn't at all. But and it's our human nature to dwell on things, and there comes a point where you have to let it go. And if the emotions are under control, and you're being genuine, and that person is being genuine, then you pray about it. You always have to pray about it. Even you're unsure, even when you are sure, you still pray about those things, because things might be revealed later on that you didn't really pay attention to or overlook. And we naturally make those mistakes, and we overlook them, sometimes intentionally, but a lot of it in some cases is unintentionally. Because why? Because we're so wrapped up in our emotions. So guard your heart, pray about these things, get counsel from your pastors or people in the church, so that you're making the right decision, so that you're not stepping out of the will of God. That's the one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to step out of the will of God, and then what happens after that? You're not in a position to receive the blessings that you're supposed to get. So that's all I have for this evening. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys, what you have to say in the open discussion. And I hope you guys have a good evening. Bye.